Hey everybody, this is John Scarborough. If you have not believed so far that we tried to do everything as close to organic as you can, I think all the weeds in the background should be pretty good proof. I am proud to say that there are quite a few pastures that weren't nearly this bad, but there were several pastures that came out this way. But I can say that with all of that, there was still plenty of grass underneath, and the cows still came out very fat and very, very healthy. It is something that they are a little bit, in some places, they are definitely much worse than I would like to see it. So we'll see what we have to do in the future to take care of some of that. The landowner obviously doesn't like some of it, so sometimes, especially when you don't have a lease on this specific place, we don't have a lease agreement. But if you do have a place that you don't have a lease agreement, make sure that you make sure that they understand that because you don't have a lease agreement to protect you, that you can't afford to pay them as much or do as much for their land either. So just kind of keep that in the negotiation. I didn't want to lose this place especially because it's right across the road from us. But also it's just, you get what you can get for sure. So do the best you can, but there is only so much that you can actually afford to do in your budget because you've got to get a return back on your money. But anyway, that's a subject for another day. I think it's a subject I've touched on a little in the past. You can go and look for those videos. Anyway, kind of what I wanted to talk about today was the hay. Okay, we are now in December 1, and we've gone longer without feeding hay than we have in the previous years. It seems like every year we get a little bit better and we go a little bit longer, and we have more calves, basically more mouths that we are feeding on the same amount of, actually a little bit less land now. There was one place that was quite a distance away from us. We went ahead and got rid of that place just because it was so far off, and it wasn't very big, and the fences really weren't all that good and everything, so it just wasn't working out for us. But we went ahead and got rid of that place. But the point is that we have more mouths to feed because we have more calves this year. We had heifers last winter so we didn't have to bring as many calves through. So we have some heifers, we have some mamas, and we have quite a few calves on the ground right now, and we got to carry all those through the winter. So with all of that, we were able to go longer than we ever have before without feeding hay. So a lot of people would look at the weeds and look at all of that and say that we've kind of been hurting ourselves, but we seem to be getting better regardless. So you can look at it however you want. I'm trying to do the best thing I can do for our farm, for the soil, for our long-term income, and for the animal. And for the people that are our customers that are buying our meat. And that's our goal, is to do the best that we can do since we are the steward of that at the moment. But so far we've made it a little bit longer, and we are in December 1, and December the 3rd. Now it was December 1 when we fed these two bales right here, and we haven't fed anything since then. They are now grazing. You can see several of them. You can see some black right in there, and then as it's going up there, they're heading out. We turned them out into that pasture back in there. We're getting close to weaning them. I did wait longer than some people would have, but we are getting to the point where now we are going to try to do some weaning. We're going to try some weaning flaps, where you put it in the nose and wean them from the mom. We're hoping that works out for us, because it will, not only is it a little bit, supposedly a little bit more easy on the cow and on the calf, where they're not quite as stressed out and they're not losing quite as much weight. And I mean, I think that would be true. I really do. So I'm kind of excited about seeing how that works. We're going to try that out rather than actually just pulling them off and putting them in another pasture. But also it makes it simpler, because throughout the winter I don't have two herds. I've only got one. So we did go ahead and band all the bull calves, and all but one. There was one that we really liked, and we're going to try raising it and seeing how it turns out. We really liked what it looked like, so we're going to try that one out. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to hold him up so he would be separate from the other ones, but I am going to, whether I do or not, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'll kind of let y'all know on that. But if I do hold him up, I will have to feed him, but he's just one, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not my favorite thing to do, but you can't just jump in and do the best thing, or supposedly the best thing. You know, you kind of have to work it all out yourself. You kind of have to figure out what really works and what doesn't. So we fed these first 2 bales December 1. I think last time it was just before Thanksgiving, I think last year, and even then was farther than we had pushed before. I think it was late October before that. So we're slowly, gradually inching in a little bit farther. And actually the only reason we went ahead and fed those 2 bales was because we were actually getting a day where it dropped down to 26 degrees, and it had just been raining before that, so the humidity was really high. And rain, wind, and cold is something that really will take it out of a cow. Okay, so even if I wasn't quite ready to feed hay at that point, which I was hoping to make it to December 9, but even if I wasn't, I still would have fed hay, okay, because that is just a brutal night for those cows to go into, because they're going to get the thing about the South. The battle in the South is, even though we don't have as cold temperatures for nearly as long as a lot of you guys are struggling with up north, because our temperatures do get so high sometimes during the day, when they do drop all the way down below freezing, sometimes it's not enough for that ground to freeze off. So you still got to battle high humidity with extreme, or with cold temperatures. So it equals out to an extreme for the cow. So we don't, a lot of times we're battling high humidity all throughout the winter, whereas a lot of other people might not would be having to battle that. But it's a different battle no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing. But for us, that's what it is. So when it drops down like that, especially if it's been raining and the temperatures have been higher, and I know that the humidity won't freeze off, I want to go ahead and supplement them with something. Give them a little something for the calves to sleep in, a little something for them mamas to eat, so they can transfer that food back to the calf. Keep everybody warm. And I could definitely tell that the cows were a lot happier, for sure. But they ate all of that, and you can tell they ate most of it. We use the hills in our advantage. We don't have a bale unroller. It is something I would like to have, actually. I want to try making one or something, get something that I can unroll some hay behind a four-wheeler. I've seen other guys do it before. But we do have a pretty big advantage here. We have quite a few hills, so most of the time we can unroll, well, every time we can unroll a bale. The only reason I would want a bale unroller wouldn't be because I think that I can't spread it out enough, because I can use every hill I got and never put one bale back where the other one is. That's what I've been doing the whole time. I try very hard not to put a bale back where I had already put a bale before that year. Sometimes I'll do it twice in a winter, once in the beginning of winter and then once in late winter, just because I'm trying to really produce the nutrition in that area. But that's the only time I'll do that. But what I really would like to have a bale unroller for is because I'm able to get into a lot of other places that I can't. Because even though we do have quite a few hills here, there's also some flat areas and some places with some low nutrition that's kind of hard to get into, and it would be nice to be able to do that. Plus, there are times when it's really, really wet and nasty when I don't want to use my tractor to feed them. And I don't, you know, a lot of times right now, if I don't want to use my tractor because I don't want to tear up the ground, because you can tell here, this ground is not tore up. I try very hard to keep from ever tearing up my ground no matter what. I don't have any mud paddocks or anything like that. I try very hard not to do that. But right now, if it's a really bad day, what I'm doing is basically I'm putting a couple bales of hay on my 12-foot trailer, and I'll just drive with my truck, my dually truck, out here, and then pull the bales off of there and then roll them down the hill. And that truck, the spread on it is better. The tires are not as big, and so you're not, it just seems to work better not tearing into the soil. Although last year I did notice there were a few times when it was really bad, where if I would have gone downhill and tried to feed farther down, then I would have had some trouble coming back up, tearing up the soil. So that's where the four-wheeler would really come in handy, is places like that. But anyway, that is kind of some goals for the winter, or for the future. I mean, it's kind of something that has to happen after the shop is finished, you know, and after the main priorities are taken care of. But really, I'm kind of drifting off a little bit, and I do apologize for that. Just kind of excited in some ways because everything is working out really well, in a lot of different ways. So definitely a little bit excited for that, despite how tough it's been, because to be honest, I try to be happy and looked on the, be an optimist. I try to look on the bright side all the time as best I can, because honestly, what else can you do? You know, you can look at the downside all you want. So I'm not gonna lie, it has been very tough in the fact that, you know, with the virus that's been going on, it's been very tough because we're trying to build right now, and building, all the building resources, everything you buy, all that stuff is going up, you know, way up. Some place, you know, in some places it's tripling. I've even seen some things that have quadrupled in price nearly. So it is tough in that aspect. The sales aspect, the people that come out to farmers markets and people that do, that are doing a lot of these things, that those things have had a big effect on us. So it has been very tough, but I try to look at the good and not the bad, because that is literally the only thing you can do, or the best thing you can do is what I should say. So anyway, back to the topic. I do apologize for getting off on all of that. I'm really happy to see that we've waited this long, because even after we fed those 2 bales, right now, tonight's going to get to like 44, I think, here or something, 40 something, and last night was 46, you know, and there's still a lot of decent grass out there, definitely winter grass, in a lot of these pastures, because that's the one nice thing if you live in the south where you get a lot of ryegrass, or if you live in an area where you get a lot of winter grass is what I should say. Then if you will keep them in one pasture or one paddock at a time, then all your other paddocks are still growing. Even in the winter, they're still growing that winter grass. So out there where we just let them out into, there's a lot of good winter grass along with a lot of good dry matter that we've left out there. I will say, in a lot of my experimentation on winter stockpile and things like that here in Louisiana, I have seen a lot of things. I'm still experimenting, okay? And obviously I have moved farther. I've seen better luck with the mix of the grass that's left behind, and then just the regeneration of the ryegrass or the winter grass, okay? So I've seen better luck with that, and that was to be expected, to be real honest. I'll say that the Bahia and things like that, and of course this is something to be expected as well. This is something I really figured would happen. Most of the Bahia and things like that are, you know, they're just not really good resources for that kind of thing. Now, right now, they are actually getting a little good out of the Bahia. The most important thing that I have seen, and this is as well to be expected, the most important thing is that it has clipped just in the right time, or it's grazed just in the right time, whatever you have time for. Like I said, these pastures wouldn't even look this bad if we had time to clip them this year, but we've had so much issue with the bush hog that we had. We just got it this year, and then we've had so much work with the building of the new place that it just hasn't happened. So nobody's perfect, you know. But anyway, so ideally we would have gotten in here and clipped it sooner. The places that I was able to clip, I did notice, whether it was Bahia, you know, whatever it was, Bermuda, it didn't matter. It all did so much better because I clipped it right about September 15th. And for us, that worked out perfect because it was still in the growing season. It had about another 30 days of good growth and probably another at least 10-20 days of decent growth after that. So then letting the cows go in there and graze on that was still some pretty high energy stuff, and it seemed to hold its energy. I will say now, the stuff that I'm still seeing the most, well, let's just say the best results that I'm seeing is in the Bermuda, and that's what I started out talking about back when I first started kind of experimenting in all of this, is the Bermuda. And a lot of the tests, scientific tests that have been done on it, kind of suggested this in the first place, but no one actually had any real proof of it, but that I knew of, that I could find, to be honest. But anyway, so the Bermuda seems to be holding up pretty decent. It definitely lasts longer. Okay, now it's nothing like what you're watching on some of these other videos where people are doing some stockpiling with fescue and things like that, or any type of stockpiling up in those northern states. It's still nothing like that. It turns brown as soon as you get a frost, you know. But what I am seeing is that it does seem to hold some quality, and I actually know a guy that lives near me that had it tested after it turned brown, and he was seeing the protein was definitely much higher than anything else that he had there, even after it turned brown. So we actually have one pasture that we've worked really hard on, and we have our bulls in there right now because I like to withhold my bulls. We keep our bulls on most of the time, but I do take them off for 3 months so that they'll have a 3-month period. On the hottest months, they'll have a 3-month period. Like if I withhold them right now, then during the summer they won't be having babies. Now that's a little different as well than some of the things that you'll see on those other videos. And the only reason I mention that is because a lot of people try to compare what we do here to what a lot of other people do. And that's one of the differences is a lot of people have their worst time to calve is in the dead, harsh winter. For us, that's the best time. If we calved right now, this would be a great time for a cow, you know, because we're getting most of our days are still in 70 degrees, and you know, we see Christmases at 70 degrees, you know. So that's the best time to be calving, is actually in the fall, you know, or early spring, or in the winter. The worst time here is a hot, humid summer. Okay, you just don't need to do that. Okay, so that's when we withhold our bulls, and it's the only time we withhold our bulls, is to make sure that they don't have a baby in June, July, or August. Okay, and it's actually, the way we do it is we take them off in such a way where hopefully they won't have a baby from about June 15th all the way to September 15th, somewhere in there, because we find that that's the sweet spot, it seems like. So we're still experimenting, but I like to keep one herd as long as possible. So I do keep my bulls on year round, besides that. So I keep them on about 9 months. But anyway, so that's what we got there. But in that pen where the bulls are right now, that's where we've done a lot of work. It's almost 100% Bermuda and common Bermuda and things like that. Like there's a couple different mixes of the varieties. I'm not 100% sure on all of the different varieties that are in there. It was there when we got this place. That's what was already growing. But anyway, so we're doing some tests in there, trying to see just how long we can do it. It has turned brown after the really hard frost, and we're fixing to have another 4 days. It's not going to be hard frost, but it's going to get down to frosting weather. And in 4 days of staying below freezing, you will finally start to see that ground to freeze up as well. So we're going to see really what happens. But so far we have not had to feed those bulls anything. They are fat and sassy in there. They are doing very well in there, and so we're just going to keep watching them. Obviously, if they need it, we will feed them. But so far they're doing very well in there on that. And come January, that's when, January 1st, somewhere in that area, that's when we're going to run the cows back in with them. So if there is any of that grass left, which I think that there will definitely be grass left in there, because there's way more than what they need, okay? If there's any of that grass left, then when they run in there, it will be a test all on its own of how well the rest of the mamas do on that grass. So we'll run them in there, let them greet with those bulls, and then we'll start moving them back around in the rotation again, and see how that works out. So I will be kind of updating y'all on how that works. I really do have high hopes for it. So far, it's still definitely doing better than anything else. So this video has turned into a lengthy video. I do hope that y'all can at least find some entertainment in my ability to ramble. But anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on so far. 2 bales we fed, and we're doing pretty good. I'm not going to feed another bale until the temperatures drop back down below freezing. You know, because there's still forage out there for them to consume. And with this, I say I'm not, okay? I shouldn't say I'm not. What I mean is I don't think I'll have to. You have to really, really watch your cattle, okay? You need to be out there every single day. And right now, during that phase between I'm not feeding hay and I am feeding hay, a lot of times I'm out there twice a day or more. Watching them, but you got to be out there as often as you can. You know, some people's, they do more and some people really can't, but you need to do, if you're wanting to try to do this process, then you need to be out there as much as you can possibly do, so that you can watch your cows, you can watch your calves, and make sure that they're actually doing well enough on their own. Because at the end of the day, you do have them trapped on one piece of property, regardless of how big that piece of property is. And that means that it is your responsibility to take care of them. So keep an eye on them, let them graze as long as they can, because that is, at the end of the day, the healthiest and the cheapest thing that you can do for that animal. But at the same time, you don't want to let them start getting hungry or letting them start to go downhill. So just watch them. Watch close on that left side. You'll start to see a little bit of a triangle appear on their left side, and if you can see that triangle, they actually refer to that as the death triangle. So watch it and make sure that it doesn't start getting sunk in. If it does, if you got a whole herd of cows out there looking like that, it's probably time to feed them. If you've got one cow out there, you know, you may need to feed that one cow. I don't know, that's up to you, but what you may need to do is look at the tag number of that cow and look at calling that cow. If that's the only one that can't take care of itself, then most likely it is a call. But if you start seeing all of them going down, then that might mean that you need to be giving them food, and if you don't give them food pretty soon, you might be the call. So watch out for that. Make sure you can recognize the call in your herd. And anyway, guys, I do hope y'all appreciate this video. I'm gonna try to keep some more updates on how the feeding of the hay is going and how much we're doing. I still don't think we're gonna have to feed a whole lot until December 1, or until December the 9th is what I mean to say. But we'll see. So anyway, thanks everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe.